moved, loved on, cared for, and welcomed, and we thank you so very much for that. And I'm going to turn the mic to Charlie. We both had cancer in the same year. Let's sit.
I don't care if we sit down here, do you?
Yeah.
I don't want to feel like I'm preaching. Yeah, just like. But I think what everybody's been saying is true. It's a matter of just kind of sharing your story, and a lot of people don't share their stories. Especially for my kind of cancer, which was colon cancer, people do not want to talk about it because of where it's located and what happens in that process and what bodily function it affects, because it will and it does, temporarily, albeit. But you know, cancer is not anything to be embarrassed about, because it's not anything that you've done to cause it or anything like that. It just happens to people sometimes. So it's never something to be embarrassed about. But I think we wanted to just come and just tell you a little bit about our journey of 2008, which was the year that we both got diagnosed, and kind of really just open the floor up to asking for any questions that you might have, because that was the thing that helped me the most, was being able to ask other people that had been through my situation questions that I had, and get some answers that were really helpful, that will kind of ease your fears a lot of time, calm you down, because when you don't know anything, all you are is just kind of scared, because you really don't know what's going to happen. So it's good to be able to ask questions and get some feedback. So would you like to tell yours?
Or
would you like me to tell yours?
We'll do it in chronological order.
Okay.
So, well, my name is Nan Kelley, and my husband's name is Charlie. We're both in the music business in Nashville. And my friend Shakira back there, she likes country music. She likes Taylor Swift, and she has good tastes. That's for sure. So I get, I work in country music, and Charlie's a producer and a musician as well. So we have good lives. We have 2 great dogs. We don't have any children. We just live normal lives in Nashville with everybody else. And so in May of 2008, I was completely healthy, no problems, no nothing. And I just put my hand up to my neck, and I tried to show Shakira my scar here, but the surgeon did a pretty darn good job because you can barely see it. But I just had a lump in my neck, and I just put my hand in my neck. It's like, oh, well, that's bizarre. I wasn't feeling sick, I wasn't having any problems, no nothing. And so the next morning, I went to change my clothes, and I forgot about it that night when I got home. And the next morning when I went to change, I pulled my shirt up and I ducked my head down, and I felt it at that point. Oh, I remember this from last night. And I went to Charlie and I said, feel this? And he goes, that is hard and big. What is that? And obviously it scared us. And he goes, we need to go to the doctor right now. Well, I was at the doctor 1 hour later. And I'm the type of person, if I see something that's wrong and out of place and not there, I'm at the doctor. And because that wasn't right. And it turned out to be not right. They first thought it was a goiter coming off my thyroid. And he goes, the doctor flat out said, it's either a goiter or 2 other things. And those 2 things are not so good. But let's just press on and find out what it is. So they took an x-ray, and they saw more in my chest, linked together, all this. And he goes, it still could be a goiter, but we're gonna move on. We gotta get a CAT scan. And if you've never had a CAT scan, it's pretty painless. No, they just run you through this little machine, and that did reveal that it was lymphoma. And he came back into the room and told us that, to which we just went, say what? But I knew that minute. The minute he said it's lymphoma, his face went white, and I knew what it was, and I knew I'm gonna be okay. It's okay. I'm gonna be all right. No matter what happens, the faith, the whole, it's like it's gonna be okay. And so we went and had the biopsy surgery, and indeed they revealed that it was Hodgkin's lymphoma, a particular type. There are just a few types of Hodgkin's. Victor has all that information if you need to know more about Hodgkin's and non-Hodgkin's and leukemia. was the type that, luckily, they know how to beat. And the chemo works. And they said that when I went to the doctor. He said, we can't make any promises, but we know how this one works. And I'm thankful for research that so many of our participants here in LLS have contributed to, that made me feel good when we walked into that doctor's office and they said, okay, we know how to work on this one. You still have to go through the chemo, and you still have to get radiation, and your hair's gonna fall out, and this and that and the other, but you know, you're probably gonna be okay on the other side. I was like, well, all right then. So we did, we went through chemo and radiation, and 6 months of that. And after the first treatment, that big massive lump went down to nothing. One treatment. I still had to take the 7 others, and you know, the chemotherapy and the port and the whole 9 yards. If you've been through that, you understand that road. But man, to get to the other side, I'm going to endure it. And thankfully, I made it to the other side. Had a few hiccups along the way. You know, it's otherwise it would be called a cold instead of cancer. You know, so. But thankfully, thank God, I'm here, and it works, and there's hope, and I'm living proof. And then 3 weeks after I finish my radiation, his story starts.
3 weeks after she finished the last treatment is when I was diagnosed with colon cancer. And the thing about my diagnosis was that, honestly, it was a voluntary thing for me. My mother had had some polyps removed when she was in her 70s, which was not that uncommon. And I had been talking to my general physician for about 5 years because of her polyps about getting a colonoscopy, and they kept saying, just wait. When I was 37, I think my doctor called up to the gastroenterology department, and they said, no, let's wait till he's at least 40. So when I turned 40, I went in and had another physical, and I said, look, this is not something I want to do. Who would want to have a colonoscopy, right? Nobody wants that. But I said, I'm 40, we talked about it, should I go? He said, let me call up there, and they said, yeah, let's go ahead and get him in. So it was a voluntary thing. I was having no symptoms, and that's when they found this cancer. Fortunately, they found it at an early stage, and the only thing that I needed to do is resection the colon, or that they needed to do rather. So I came out on pretty good as far as the treatment process goes. I didn't have to have chemo or radiation or anything like that. But the point being is that, especially with something like colon cancer, is that it can be in there doing its thing without you ever knowing it. And when you do start to have symptoms, it's usually at a later stage. So what I wanted to do was, one thing was to put a younger face on colon cancer, because a lot of people think of it as an older person's type of cancer, which it's not. Younger people are being diagnosed with colon cancer all the time. So don't ignore any symptoms. If you have any slight symptom of any kind of discomfort in the stomach area or anything like that, absolutely go to the doctor and ask for a colonoscopy. Tell them you want that. A lot of times doctors, because you may not be of age, or they don't think that's what it is, they'll kind of push it off sometimes. But that's one of our things is together is kind of knowing your body, especially for her. If you feel like something's not right, make them check it out. It's your body and it's your life, and you're paying them, so you're hiring them. So they're supposed to do what you want them to do, right? That's how it works. So don't be shy with any kind of discomforts or anything like that that you're having. Make them check you out. And especially with the colonoscopies, they're not that bad. I had to do the prep 3 times in 1 month when I had the surgery. So believe me, I lost probably 20 pounds in 3 weeks. So it's
and I didn't have to cook as much.
And you know, cancer is a bad thing. And if there's any way that you can make anything good come out of it, you know, that there is always something good that can come out of these things. And I said this last night at one benefit we had in Nashville. Amy Grant said cancer can be a gift. And that sounds very odd, but in a way, it kind of wakes you up to what life is really about. Because sometimes we get going 90 miles an hour in this world and we're not paying attention to things, and we're not giving the relationships that we have the time that they really deserve to have, and we're not living life. And life goes by so fast. And we just need to slow down. And cancer sometimes